Now we're moving into the actual casted Domination games, and because you can't see the reinforcement pools while in the replay, I'm going to be starting all of my Domination replay casts here in the replay select screen so I can go over the army compositions and show you guys the reinforcement pools for both armies up front. So today I am taking Cathay into Rubber Duck of War's Khorne. If you guys don't know Rubber Duck of War, for whatever reason, you're not already a fan, if you're a fan of this channel, you'll definitely be a fan of his channel, so go check him out. I'll try and remember to leave a link in the description down below. Anyway, yeah, my Cathay, you're going to see this Miao Yang double sentinel opening quite a bit, and I've cut Miao Yang's cost down pretty substantially in terms of her abilities, which doesn't reflect here accurately, but it has allowed me to take still 4 Peasant Long Spears for infantry to help move up and secure. And then, seeing as we're up against Khorne, I've got plenty of halberds and crossbows for AP and to help hold the line and protect said crossbowmen. In my experience, I was having a rough time with Cathay at first until I started just absolutely spamming crossbows with infantry to protect them, and I definitely think that's the way to go. It still needs some more testing, but excuse me, in particular, the Celestial Dragon Guard here do have actual AP on their crossbows, and they're pretty decent melee stats with 95 armor and shield, so they should be very tanky. We've also got 1 Celestial Dragon Guard halberd and a great longma to protect these rockets in case I choose to bring them in, or just generally to act as a flying mobile screen. For Rubber Duck of War's Khorne, he's going heavy with 2 large single entities as well, double Bloodthirster with the Exalted and the Regular as an opener, 1 Warrior of Khorne with Halberd, 1 Shield Warrior, and some Chaos Warhounds. He's got Minotaurs of Khorne, 1 dual hand weapon, both in reserve, 2 Halberd Warriors also in reserve, with 4 more Shield Khorne Warriors, and 3 Fleshhounds, 2 Furies, and 1 Chaos Warhound. So let's jump into the replay. We're going to be on the Crossing of the Sea of Claws map, and generally the in my opinion, the Sentinels are much better than the Elemental Bear. If you want to talk about sort of the 2 humans, and I know I can't show any Kislev footage yet, but we will be showing them very shortly. The Sentinel, though, both the Sentinel and the Bear have magic attacks, are unbreakable with massive weapon strength. The Sentinel is just much more cost-effective, coming in at only 1,600 cost.
You will see your families again! This the Storm Dragon swears to you.
Oh, I don't know if that's a guarantee that you're really allowed to make, Miao Yang. But anyway, so we've got the double sentinels here. We've got the 4 Peasant Long Spears deployed on this Crossing of the Sea of Claws map. We've got this objective over here, sort of somewhat on the high ground. This objective here, somewhat in the middle. This objective here, somewhat on the lower ground. So I'll kind of be referring to them in that way. Rubber Duck of War just coming forward with his 2 Bloodthirsters and his Warhounds, kind of checking out, doing a little bit of scouting, seeing what's going on. The double Bloodthirster is strong, don't get me wrong. It's a very good opening, I would say, in certain situations, but the main downside is that neither of the Bloodthirsters can capture, so that's like 5,500 points worth of big monster that literally just can't capture, whereas the Terracotta Sentinels are 1,600 apiece, right? So together they're 3,200. With Miao Yang, that's like, what, 6,000 plus of the single entity spend as well on the opening. But again, with the magic attack, 600 weapon strength, unbreakable. The Causing Terror will also be nice against the Chaos Warriors, of course. And Battle Harmony will give them up to 12 additional melee defense, which is good because their melee defense is somewhat lacking. Rubber Duck of War is going to swoop his Bloodthirsters onto this one here. And it will start its swing and attack animations. Duel of the Fates plays in the backgrounds, no doubt. Oh, little Guan Yu stab there. But the Bloodthirsters don't want to hang around. They came in and got a few attacks, did a little bit of damage, lit him on fire, so I possibly couldn't heal him as much. But if we actually take a look at Miao Ying's loadout now that I've turned into dragon form, we're loaded in. Of course, in dragon form, she can only cast Talons of the Night, but I've only brought Earthblood as well for healing. And then, you know, we've cut down Life Bloom. I've just got Aura of Majesty and Disdain of the Dragons. And here we go. Big old single entity duel in the center. The Terracottas and Miao Yang 3v2 here. Usually in single entity combat, the number with the most the side with the most numbers wins, right? And especially with good positioning here, we're going to pull up this Dragon Vortex as well. I've forget the name. I'm still trying to learn all the names here. Talons of the Night, that's right. Does terrify away my Peasant Long Spears, but also does quite a bit of damage to those Chaos Warriors as well. Pretty good trade for me. Develop some Jade Warrior Crossbowmen and some Peasant Spears to take the low ground, while Rubber Duck of War has some Shield Warriors up on the high ground point. So the main action is still here in the center, as it often is on this map. But the engagement went pretty well. Miao Ying did end up taking quite a bit of damage, so I'm going to transform back into human form so we can start pumping out some Earth Bloods. We did a ton of damage to the Bloodthirster, though, and neither of my Sentinels took much damage, so it was a pretty decent trade, honestly, all things considered, for both of us in that single entity fight. But my ability to now sustain Miao Ying with a little bit of Earth Blood, I'm also just going to keep her in human form on foot so that I can, like, run around and screen using this, like, little impassable chunk here, using the Sentinels, possibly, my own infantry. It's just much easier to screen her out while she's a small target on foot. You can see, like, the Bloodthirsters don't always hit their charges directly, so pretty good stuff there. We do have some more Warriors of Khorne incoming with dual hand weapons and some Warhounds, which are going to absolutely cut through my Peasant Long Spears like butter, so definitely need to get some more heavy troops on the field. To that effect, we're going to start to bring in some Celestial Dragon Guard. We've also got the Fire Rain Rockets moving in to be able to saturate the center area. Should he start to bring in some Bloodletters? I haven't seen any Bloodletters yet, and of course, I don't know live in battle what's in his reinforcement pool, so I kind of have to be guessing. You know, sometimes you can bring things out as a direct counter. It's good to try and preempt, though, if you can guess what your opponent's going to take. But anyway, Miao Ying gets singled out there again, double-teamed, and takes a bunch more damage, but manages to escape. Her little Storm Skate animation means that she can kind of just float through the opposition infantry relatively easily. As the rockets start to open up, they're going to do some horrendous friendly fire on these peasants initially, and considering the lack of armor piercing there, it will do outsize much more damage to the Peasant Long Spears than to any of these Khorne warriors, but that's okay. We'll bring in the heavy troops in just a moment. We've also got more long spears, Jade Warrior crossbowmen coming up from the low ground, and I've brought in the high tier crossbows, Celestial Dragon Guard crossbowmen, now moving up to be able to shoot into this blob of juicy unshielded warriors here. We've got halberds, dual hand weapons, no shielded warriors, of course. Bloodthirsters both are going to be great targets as well for those crossbows, so Miao Ying gonna try and transform Dragon Form once again just to pop into the air and make the Bloodthirster lose its targeting. Meanwhile, the Sentinel comes in for rear charge, gets a nice hit there, a couple of big hits on the Bloodthirster. But at this point, Miao Ying, again, at extreme risk, I'm just going to do everything I can to try and keep her alive for as long as possible now, and that's, again, just sort of landing, juking, doing some different things. But the crossbows now have a presence to start firing in. Celestial Dragon Guard also can move in and just try and secure. You can see if I put up the pathings that I have kind of force pathed my infantry into the zone so that we can start capturing. Likewise, the Furies from Khorne are going to be brought in to try and shut down, but thankfully the rockets are right next to my deployment zone, so I can just immediately bring in some Jade Lancer reinforcements to screen them out and push them away. Make sure we keep these crossbows secured as well. Some Chaos Warhounds getting in on the Celestial Dragon Guard. They're on guard mode, so they'll continue to fire while in melee, but they're also not going to really take too much damage. That 95 armor and 32 melee defense is enough that these Chaos Warhounds won't do a ton of damage here. They'll do some, but meanwhile, Miao Ying just running for her absolute life from the Bloodthirster. The Furies also caught her up at this point. They almost might be able to finish her off. We'll see. But right now, Rubber Duck of War's got a pretty good advantage on the capture points. Tickets, he is starting to get close to pulling ahead, so I really need to get my infantry now back on the point to start capturing. So to that effect, I'm just going to ride around with these Jade Lancers. We don't even charge those Warhounds, we just flank them, and that's enough to trigger leadership penalties for them to rout. So we're now going to just, again, force path the crossbows in here. The one nice thing about Cathay and crossbows, and this will be sure of dwarfs too, I'd imagine, once they get integrated on the combined map, as Miao Ying gets finished by the Bloodthirster here. Sad day for Miao Ying. But the shielded, armored sort of skirmish units are very good still for securing a point, and also it benefits me from a harmony perspective to get these crossbows in here and keep them close on the point to my halberds that are defending, kind of having everyone together. But at the same time, right now, just with the Peasant Long Spears and the halberds, Lancers are in here, and we're able to capture because These warriors are very low. The Minotaurs do count for a good amount of capture power, but the Flesh Hounds are kind of being outweighed, or were momentarily, by the Jade Lancers at least. I brought in some Longmas just to act as kind of an elite rear charge force to go after like these Minotaurs and some of these other lighter armor targets here. So they're going to get in a rear charge and do some pretty decent damage. Jade Lancer is definitely getting absolutely wrecked, but finally we're going to be able to get the crossbows into range here, start getting some Harmony active. You can see with Harmony, those peasants are up to 31 melee defense, which considering their cheap cost is pretty decent. Excuse me, all things considered. Jade Warrior Crossbowman also, again, moving in. Let's see, in terms of reinforcements, we're getting some more Shielded Warriors. Good choice. The other Shielded Warriors kind of advancing up from this other point, finally. And more Jade Warrior Halberds from me moving in. We've managed to use most of the rockets, which is definitely of benefit. I don't know how much value it's actually gotten, because we've basically been shooting heavy infantry the whole time. But even still, it's just about paid for itself, which is just great. So we'll get back in and watch as the Cathayan infantry continues to hold this ground. Now all together with the crossbows able to contribute, but oh, here comes the Bloodthirster, Exalted Bloodthirster, still quite healthy at this point, so I'm going to try and focus him down. You can see the Celestial Dragon Guards do have an attack order on him. The Halberds staying close, Peasant Longspears staying close as well. We've managed to basically clear out all of the infantry, right? Those Halberds just couldn't stand up to overwhelming crossbow fire, and of course my own Halberds dealing armor-piercing damage to them in melee. A little bit, not much, but every little bit helps, certainly. More Jade Warrior Crossbowmen moving in. These Halberds are going to try and intercept those Warriors of Khorne. But the Bloodthirster at this point getting very, very low. The damage from the Celestial Dragon Crossbows is very real. They are basically heavily armored shades, more or less, in terms of damage output. So the burst is pretty intense. And even once they get charged, this other unit of crossbows can still provide overwatch. And there goes the Exalted Bloodthirster. So both of us have now lost our lords. And you notice the Sentinels are all gone as well. They keeled over some time ago to the Warriors of Khorne with Halberds. So at this point, all of our single entity presence on both sides is gone. And just look at the carnage on the battlefield here, man. I've actually changed up some of my graphics settings. You'll see maybe like one video recorded after today. Well, it was recorded before today, but it'll be released after today that the settings were not tuned to this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm recording this on a laptop, so I'm doing my best to try and balance quality versus performance here. To give you guys a good viewing experience. But me personally, something I've always loved about Cold War is just the absolute carnage that results at the end of a battle, and this is 100% appropriate, I feel. Anyway, just for cinematic purposes. The Celestial Dragon Crossbowmen are able to hold out against that Flesh Hound attack, and again, the Hounds and the Warriors just getting surrounded and overwhelmed here. The Longmas were kind of holding back a significant portion of Khorne infantry here, but they are getting quite low, so we're going to have to detach them and flee. I still haven't sent any forces over here to capture point number 1, but did bank up enough points to re-summon Meow, and this is one of the great things about Domination mode. If you lose your Lord, as long as you have the option to save, like you're not, on the back foot the whole time, and you can kind of save up your supplies and be able to resummon in your Lord. It's something you can do. Definitely not something you could do in old pitched battles before. Meow's going to come in. Little Storm Breath attack there. Side charge into those Khorne Warriors. They're also getting shot in the back by the Celestial Dragon Crossbowmen, who do have a little bit of ammo left. Great situation for me. Man, the Celestial Dragon units are just so cool, in my opinion. I don't know, something about these sort of elite high-tier crossbow and halberd units. Definitely looking very, very cool. Khorne Warriors, though, Rubber Duck of War is doing the right thing, which is to just force path all of them in and try and get on the point to secure. But Meow Ying's here. She's going to throw a little bit of Vortex right on the edge, so all the warriors who are coming through this zone will take a bunch of extra damage. And even still, with all the halberds and the crossbows, we're able to maintain capture power here on this center victory point. The Minotaurs briefly tried to go secure that low point, but the, Longmas, there they are. We're able to chase said Minotaurs off. You can see a few of the Minotaur bodies laying in the snow there. And with that, it's pretty much going to be a victory for me, unless Rubber Duck of War were to 3 cap, which he's not going to be able to cap this center objective just because the spam of infantry is too real. I mean, eventually he'll probably be able to thin it out enough to get the capture power to start capturing it, but perhaps not. Celestial Crossbowmen fighting in melee, kind of supporting the flank of the halberds here, Jade Halberds. I wasn't the biggest fan of formation attack initially, but I think it actually is okay in certain circumstances, as long as you're not fighting out on the flanks or you're trying to hold. Like here, though, you can see how it does result in them kind of getting flanked and turned around, and some of the models are getting attacked directly in the back, which is definitely not ideal. Anyway, another Vortex going to be called up here, and that will bring home a victory. The Burning Wind Nomads is the color scheme I was using, in case you're curious. There it is. Great game to Rubber Duck of War. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I hadn't been finding much success with Cathay until this particular session. I had been shown some builds by like Anticity and Turin that sort of prompted me to rethink how I was approaching Cathay, and I think now this sort of mass crossbow reinforcement, I do need to try it in some more matchups, but it definitely seems like more the way to go than whatever I was trying to do before. I honestly don't even know. But the Celestial Dragon Crossbowman here, 2,000 damage value, 100 kills, 14,000 damage dealt. Just very impressive performance, honestly. If you can keep these guys protected, they will put out a ridiculous amount of damage. And they can protect themselves against at least lower tier attacks, right? Celestial Dragon Guard Infantry also did quite well, 1,100 paid for themselves. The Rockets, again, despite the lack of AP, were able to pay for themselves over the long haul. Longmas, they also came in, were able to get some nice rear charges on some low armor targets, paid for themselves in that way. Jade Lancers definitely getting sacrificed in Empire Knight style, which is totally fine. Jade Crossbows also came in, did pretty well. I didn't actually develop all of them, didn't summon all of them, but that's okay. Same thing with these Sword Warriors, but Sentinels, one of them pays for themselves, one of them does not. Miao Ying definitely does not, especially considering I had to resummon her, but even still, just having that monstrous presence and terror in the late game did allow me to really secure that center point very decisively. For Rubber Duck of War here, the Exalted Bloodthirster is very strong. The regular Bloodthirster, though, many of you guys who watched my testing stream the other day will note that probably the Soul Grinder is going to be more cost-effective. In terms of fighting other single entities. It's just cheaper than the Bloodthirster, and more than that, it's also on the ground, which means it can actually help capture points, right? Because both of these monsters cannot capture, and I think that is part of what allowed me to get that center objective captured, in my favor early on. Now, granted, he did force me off of it at one point, and then I had to push him back off of it, but the Soul Grinder just would have allowed him to contest that a little bit stronger in the beginning, I think, with more capture power. Not to mention, it has the short range, shotgun ranged attack, which can benefit you if you don't want to fight in melee, you have low HP, whatever, it's at risk of just crumbling away or being banished. Then you can hang back a little bit and just use that attack to still be able to generate value, right, with the missile damage. But anyway, Hounds can be very solid against Cathay. I honestly think, the double big monster opening is good in certain matchups. I was talking about Soul Grinder being sort of the good alternative, right? But in general, I would say against Cathay, I think you want to go with more of a wide mobile pressure to make sure that they can't utilize these missile units to their best effect. Khorne, you have your blood, Flesh Hounds and your Warhounds both, along with the Blood Furies, so to speak. They all are mobile and can vanguard, so maybe, optioning down like the Minotaurs just for even more mobility, just to go full, swarm harass, and just make sure that, none of my units come back from routing, he did a good job of trying to get in on the crossbowmen, and that's one thing, again, Cathayan ranged units, anything besides, the peasants or the artillery, they're going to be relatively tanky, and will take some more time and dedication to take out, but the Flesh Hounds definitely can. Warhounds are a little bit trickier, but especially if you're using a Warhound in tandem with a Fury together, you charge the Warhound on the ground, charge the Fury from the air, you can definitely get rid of some crossbow units in that way. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough in this post-battle. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification button. When I upload new videos, you will get notifications. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.